Welcome to Motorsport Coaching, the podcast for racers with racers. Miss Motivate can help get you to the next level. Every episode, she talks to the best racers of today and those that can get you there. She'll help you get better
Racing news
at fitness, nutrition, sports psychology, sponsorship, social media, public relations, and media training. Connect with Miss Motivate at motivatetraining.com.au. That's MOTIV8 training.com.au. And now, to help get you to the next level, Miss Motivate herself, Belinda Risley.
Hello guys, and welcome to episode 19 of the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. I am your host, Belinda Risley. Today I'm joined by Beck Burns. Beck is from Active Brand Management. She has over 10 years experience in managing activations for brands in Australian motorsport industry. Her crew at Active have worked with some of the biggest brands in motorsport to ensure they generate a return for their investments. As most of you would know, I'm very passionate about sponsorship and marketing initiatives. So this is one of my favorite episodes. I think you can hear that I've got a little bit of a girl crush, a little bit envious of what Beck and her team do. So do excuse me. Brand activation is really important for onboarding those sponsors. So if you wanted to know some more information, certainly contact Beck or myself at Motivate Training. Hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome to the show, Beck.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
As you probably know, I'm very excited to have you on, probably more so from a personal position than anything else, as I'm really interested in sponsorship activations. So I'm really looking forward to hear what you can share with us today.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to share and spread the good word on activations. There's so much room for improvement in this space right across the entire motorsport industry. There's some brands doing a really good job of it, and there's some others that could do a lot better. So, and I think across the support categories as well, there's a massive opportunities for sponsors to leverage their investment both at the track and then away from the track when the cars are only racing so many weekends a year. So how do you get that investment working for you all year round? So we're trying to really position ourselves as a company that strives to sort of implement best practice when it comes to sponsorship as well, and not just go after data or whatever it might be. We're all about putting the fans first and making sure that whatever we do roll out as an activation concept puts them first, but then obviously achieves the objectives for the sponsor as well.
Oh, I love those words, Beck. It's all music to my ears. I'm very excited to hear someone talking the same talk as I do. Tell us a little bit how you got to your role.
So Active Brand Management, we rebranded at the start of this year. I've been working with another agency prior to that, sort of white labelling under them. But before that, I actually started out, and the reason that Active Brand Management came to be is I was managing the sponsorship portfolio for Sim Cheap Auto for about 4 or 5 years. So that included Supercar sponsorship program, as well as the Bathurst 1000 event. So that was kind of my baby for 4 years, and a crazy and amazing event to be involved with. On top of that, we had lots of other sort of grassroots motorsport stuff going on as well, telecast partnerships. So it ended up being probably $6 or $7 million worth of sponsorship I was managing, and you'd travel away on race weekends and do some cool stuff at the track, and I just noticed that there's so many brands just tipping in, and this is just when you look at the main game, tipping in millions of dollars into sponsorship and just not doing anything with it. And it just blew my mind, and I ended up moving down to Melbourne in 2012, and a few people sort of asked me, could you come up with some ideas for my business? So yeah, kind of here we are 5 years later, and punching on with some of the big agencies in town, and really trying to, I guess, set a new benchmark for what it means to activate your brand within a motorsport paddock. Because as I said before, there's brands that are doing it well, but there's majority of them can probably learn a thing or two. So,
and can you mention any of those that are doing well that we can look into? Or
look, I think there's some good brands out there. Vodafone they did some fun stuff up at the Gold Coast 600. Yeah. I'm going to say WD-40 because we did some stuff for them a couple of years ago, so I'm a little bit biased there. But
you're allowed to.
they were really great in understanding the value proposition and what it means to give something of value or create that value exchange straight away with the fan. I think, there's still so many competitions of, go in the running to win X, and you can win a VI trip to here and take your mates. But reality is that, people think they're not going to win that, so why would they enter? And then you've sort of lost that opportunity to engage with the fans. So yeah, like I said, there's definitely the majority need to take a good look at what they're doing and really step back and look at it from a fan's perspective. Like, if you were a fan at the event, would you engage with that brand?
Yeah, and I was about to ask you if you could maybe strip it back and explain to us further, what is actually sponsorship activation? What does it mean for the sport?
Yeah, so I guess, there's a misconception out there that, you sponsor a team and whether it's a $50,000 sponsorship or a $5 million sponsorship, there's that misconception out there that sponsorship fee that you pay to the team will achieve the objectives that you've set out to achieve as a business. And the reality is that the team are only responsible for so much. They've got deliverables that they need to, make sure they deliver to you. So that's, branding on the car, might be social media mentions, it might be tickets to things, corporate hospitality, driver appearances, all that sort of stuff. But, in terms of really activating or leveraging your investment, it's about using it all year round and actually using it to achieve your broader marketing objectives.
Yeah.
And do you even have, and the crazy thing is that there's a lot of, companies out there that don't even have objectives set up around their sponsorship. It's just a deal that's been done. It's, the boss was into motorsport or whatever. And there's still deals like that happening today, which is crazy. So yeah, it's about setting your objectives and then setting some strategies and tactics in place to make sure that whatever you do with that sponsorship asset is all designed to ultimately achieve, those objectives and get that return on investment.
Yeah, I personally don't like the word sponsorship. I feel like it has a bit of a voodoo around it, especially when you are trying to engage with potential sponsors. And it is more so about saying about marketing initiatives and how can we enhance their marketing activities for the upcoming event or year.
Yeah.
So you've done lots of different challenges. What's probably been one of your favourite activations?
In the V8 space, like I said before, WD-40 came on board as a sponsor of the Supercar Series 3 years ago now, and we did a couple of activations around the country for them, and that was like a little digital scratchy that you'd scratch off an iPad, and it was kind of designed to educate people on WD-40 at the same time, but like a scratchy that you'd get from the newsagent. It was like a digital version on an iPad, and you'd scratch it off and you matched 3 things and you got a prize. So everyone walked away with something. I remember doing that at Phillip Island, and we literally had, people 10 deep on the iPads just, queuing up to have a go, and the data they captured was amazing. But yeah, the look on the fans' faces kind of, said it all, because there was no one kind of offering anything similar. There was, everyone else was, go in the draw to win, do this, do that, but there was no immediate value exchange. So that was one that really stuck out for me. And we got more data there at an event where there was 30,000 people over the weekend than we did at Bathurst, just because you weren't one of, I don't know how many hundreds of merchandisers they have at Bathurst, but you weren't, one of, I don't know, 100.
Yeah.
In there, and there was that, there was that value exchange. So it was a real simple recipe that worked really well. We've just finished a roadshow in our new activation truck for Dewalt tools. So they're a global company, and they do quite a bit in motorsport, but this was kind of unrelated to anything at track. But we use our new truck, which sort of folds out and becomes a bit of a stage, if you like, and set that up outside Bunnings and Total Tools and Sydney Tools and stuff like that, and educated customers and staff on their new sort of outdoor range. So we've just finished that one. That was like 6,000 kilometres of roadshow from Queensland to Victoria. And that's a lot of fun, like just getting amongst it. And that's what I love about what we do is, there's obviously time in the office where you need to come up with these crazy ideas and pitch them to clients and stuff like that. But getting them over the line and seeing them come to fruition is really rewarding. And I guess one thing we sort of pride ourselves on is that the people that are in the office, myself included, are the ones that are, rolling it out on the ground. So they live and breathe this stuff every day, and they're all about getting amongst the fans and making sure that, whoever we're representing is, happy with what we do, and their customers are ultimately happy with the brand. So
very jealous. Exactly what I want to do. So Beck, let's go from the beginning. How does the project start? How does an activation come to be activated? Can you talk us through those steps about the initial contact, communication? Is it with the actual sponsor, or is it with the athlete, or do you predominantly just do business to business? And then you talked about your team on the ground there and the brains behind the concepts. And then how does it all come together, like the ideas and the actual final event?
Yeah, so, it probably goes two ways. Like right now, where we will still, approach sponsors and see if they need assistance with activations. And a lot of that's just an education process, because a lot of them will, most of them are like, we know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. Reality is that they probably don't. They're not doing much with it, or they don't understand what activation is. So there's an education process there that we go through. But yeah, approaching clients, we now have, clients that we've worked with. Bob Jane Team Arts is one that I've worked with for the last 5 years, and they'll come to us and say, these are the people that we're sponsoring, these are the events that we can activate at, and this is what we want to achieve. These are our objectives. Can you come back to us with some concepts? So we'll go away, and as a team, we'll thrash out, what they've got available to them as assets that we can use, as well as what their objectives are, and then also take, I guess, a really long, hard look at who their fan is and who that, so if it's motorsport, who are the fans that you're talking to, and understanding them is probably the most important step. So what are the, outside of, their demographic? So yeah, we know that they're predominantly men and they're age 25 to 54, but, what else do they do? What are the other brands they consume? What do they do in their spare time? Do they have a family? Do they like going to the pub, or are they, active in their community sport? What is it that makes them tick, and really delve into that? And then we kind of bring all that together and have a big team brainstorm on what we think would work for the client. We'll take that back to them, and they review that internally, and if they give it the tick of approval, which 9 times out of 10 they do, then we just go about working in the back end with setting it all up. So we're very much in the business of managing something end to end, because the other thing that sponsors struggle with is time and resources. So ultimately getting someone like us engaged, and whether it's with the athlete or team themselves, or whether it's on the sponsor side of things, means that we kind of manage the whole process end to end. So that's from strategy creation all the way through to on the ground implementation to post event reporting as well. And that post event reporting piece is vital and often missed, because people don't have those measures in place to do that check and sort of reflect on, how was that weekend? Did we achieve objectives? Is it still a work in progress? All that sort of stuff. So that the next time we go out and do an event, we can hone down on what worked well, what could have been done better, and it's a constant cycle of improvement there. So
awesome. And how long does it take for an activation to be planned?
Depends on the size of the activation. So, for example, I've turned around activations with clients that struggle to make decisions quickly in like 2 to 3 weeks, and that's hectic, and I prefer not to do it that way.
Of course.
But Dewalt, for example, that roadshow, that was probably 3 months of in the making, in terms of, presenting the idea through to actually rolling it out on the ground. So that was, quite a logistical exercise in itself. So yeah, it really depends. And also the size, like, if it's a simple activation, you might just be using one of our social media tools, like an Instagram printer or a gift booth or whatever, then, that's relatively, inexpensive and quick to turn around. But yeah, I guess the bigger it is, the more time you need. But, we're pretty, nimble business as well. So keep our costs down, but, draw on resources that we've got within the industry to make things happen pretty quickly.
Also, and all that equipment, you mentioned the Dewalt Truck, is that yours or is that Dewalt?
Yeah, no, I bought that in June of this year. So I got it all pimped up. It was just a standard kind of box trailer. So it's now sort of folds out and creates a stage, and then clients can fit it out however they want. So for Dewalt, we created like a tough garden, so to speak. So we had, AstroTurf done, timber cladding, branding, vinyl wrapping, some fake logs, so we can really dress it up or dress it down depending on the client's needs. And it's kind of my baby, and keen to get it out and about in the V8 space, because it was probably spawned from going to V8 races, if I'm honest, and seeing so many, just rows of white marquees in Merchandise Alley, 6x3 marquees that are kind of uninviting, the branding's lackluster, and you're just kind of, in with the rest of the people, whereas this truck really makes your brand stand out and is really quite inviting. So we wanted to have a bit of a point of difference, and Dewalt was the first client for it, so it was pretty well brand new when it rolled out at the start of September. So keen to get it back, and we're chatting to brands now about doing some stuff over the summer with some other sports as well. So.
And did you do festivals as well? Yeah,
so we could do festivals. It can be like a pop-up corporate lounge, so there's a TV in there with lighting and speakers and stuff, so we can put little lounge suites and bar tables and stuff, and even have like a little mini bar there with kegs if we need to. So it's really versatile and lots of fun to work on, and it's like a little mobile office. It's quite cool.
I can't wait to see it. I'll photo, Beck, and we'll put it up in the show notes so everyone can have a look.
Sure.
So, Beck, one of the main feedbacks that I get from competitors is they don't know really what to offer their sponsors. So as far as benefits go, we know there's the cliches of putting logos and stickers and corporate catering. Are activations costly, or where does that fit in the scheme of things?
Well, like I said before, they don't need to be. I think they just need to be clever about what it is they do. So, and I think, tailoring sponsorship proposals to a specific brand. So making sure you do your research on the brand, going to their website, going to LinkedIn, going to, just getting as much information as you can on their brand, and then, and also their competitors, and then making some assumptions about what you think their objectives might be, and doing that alone will put you probably in the top 5% of sponsorship proposals, because not many people do that. They just have a generic template that goes out with a gold, silver, bronze package, and they just kind of, hope for the best and wonder why no one responds. So, and then, taking it that one step further, and then, putting in, half a dozen activation ideas, big and small, and I'm talking like, a paragraph on each, nothing over the top, but just so you can start to plant that seed, paint that picture in their mind about how they might be able to use your asset to achieve their objectives. But there used to be like a saying where you had to spend like $3 for every $1 you spent on sponsorship on activation, which is rubbish. Like, you can be really clever about it these days, and there's plenty of cool bits of technology, coming out all the time, which allows you to do that. I mean, there's some awesome stuff in VR and virtual reality and augmented reality now, which we're working with too. That just can transport your fans, into crazy places. And then there's like Instagram printers, gift booths, SMS comps. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do, and it's not costly. You just need to be clever about how you do it. And it's the old story too. There's a lot of sponsors that have been burnt by other agencies, as well as other teams that have promised the world and haven't delivered on anything. So that's a very real struggle in the motorsport space. So if you can do all these things and really sort of get to know the brand that you're pitching to, then like I said, you'll put yourself in the box seat to at least get a meeting with them and discuss it further.
And is that a service that Active Brand offers? So consultancy around those initiatives?
Yeah, so we're happy to, sit down with sponsorship seekers, and if you said to me, look, I've got, a couple of brands that we want to approach, we need some activation ideas, and absolutely we're happy to, put those together for you, and it's just an hourly rate charge based on our services. So we try to make it as affordable as possible. Obviously, the goal is to get money in the bank for them and not take it out. So yeah, absolutely, it's something that we're happy to help with.
Awesome. And how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can email me at beck@activebrandmanagement.com.au, or you can jump on our website, which is activebrandmanagement.com.au. There's an inquiry form on there, so you can fill that out. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so you can find us on there as well. So yeah,
easy to be found.
Sorry?
I said you're easy to be found.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, happy to just have a chat and see where people are at, and offer what I think might add some value to what they're doing. Like I said, I'm very aware that lots of people have been burnt, sponsors and teams and all sorts in the past. So we're trying to, I guess, really take motorsport to the next level in terms of, best practice when it comes to sponsorship and activations. We actually use one of my good friends and colleagues in the sponsorship space, and I would recommend anyone that's looking for sponsorship help to check out her website. So Kim Skildon-Reid, who is a global thought leader in the sponsorship space, she's got some really great white papers and articles on her Power Sponsorship website.
Power of Sponsorship?
Just powersponsorship.com.au, I think it is. She's not backwards in coming forward. She's tells it how it is, but she's worked with some of the biggest brands in the world on sponsorship assets across, heaps of different sports. So she's a really good one in terms of, what to put in a sponsorship proposal and what not to. So
awesome. Well, I'll have that linked into the show notes for everyone today. Yeah. Next, something that we haven't touched on is digital activations.
Yep. Yeah, so I guess, digital at event is becoming more and more easy to do. Like, we've done quite a few different digital activations, which ultimately their objective has been around capturing data and leads for clients. So, with iPads and the technology that you've got these days, it's pretty easy to do. We did one for Liberty Financial a few years ago now, which was a guess the number plate game, and if you guessed the number plate, you won $50,000 or something like that. It was an insured promotion, but that was a bit of fun, and no one wants to talk finance at a racetrack, so that was a good example of have a bit of fun, play the game, you go in the draw, you get a gift for having a go. But in the meantime, they were collecting, I think over a couple of years, we collected something like 15,000 leads for them to put into their database, which at a cost per lead of I think around less than $20 was far more economical than the $100 they were paying using standard forms of advertising. And then, social media with Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, you can do some really fun things at events as well. SMS comps still work really well. And then, you've got AR and VR stuff, which is just taking it to the next level. I mean, the ability to give your fans the experience of doing a hot lap around Bathurst without them leaving the comfort of a corporate suite or whatever through VR technology is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure, for both parties.
Yeah, exactly. And something that hasn't really been, I think, done to its greatest potential yet in supercars or in support categories, but is something that's not too expensive to do either. So.
Yeah, for sure. So, Becky, thanks very much for your knowledge today. Certainly, I recommend everyone get in contact with Beck to see how she can help you. Do you have any other resources or guidance that you could offer the beginner to amateur motorsport competitor that's just starting out? Yeah,
look, I think, Power Sponsorship is a really good place to start. I've done a couple of workshops with Kim now, and you can read up on how to operate from the sponsorship seeker side of things, as well as, what brands are looking for in terms of being of terms of being a sponsor. So you can kind of get both sides of the fence through her resources. Failing that, I think it's just, looking, just being aware of what's going on, and especially in other sports as well. I feel like there's some really great events in Melbourne. Like, you look at the Australian Open, for example. That's a really great showcase of brands activating well. Majority, yes, it's a significant spend that they're doing there, but they're reaching 1 million people over a 2-week period, so it's a justified spend. And Bathurst, from a supercars perspective, is probably the best one to look at in terms of sponsorship, and activation as well. I know, working with Supercheap there for 4 or 5 years, when they started sponsoring that event, everyone was sort of like, why are you guys sponsoring this? It's not a good fit for your brand. Didn't want a bar of them. And I remember taking some promo girls up to the top of the mountain for the first time, which was kind of scary in itself. We did it, and the fans just loved it, and they couldn't get enough of the brand. And now they have a store at the bottom of the mountain, they have a store at the top of the mountain, they have a mobile store with a little buggy that gets around to the campsites, and they turn over a crazy amount of money. It's by far the most successful store for that week of the year.
Wow.
across the entire business. So they're a good example of a brand that saw an opportunity and saw that, look, there's 40,000 people camping here. Why don't we set up a couple of shops and make their camping easier? I think now if you went to Bathurst and those sites, those shops weren't there, people would be up in arms because they couldn't get all their camping gear or merchandise or whatever. So that's a really simple example of just identifying an opportunity and executing on it.
Yeah, I can probably hear the ears and head spinning of a lot of people listening to this podcast going, oh, it's another thing I have to do. I feel like we're like, okay, you've got to eat right, you've got to exercise right, you've got to do the sponsorship, you've got to get sponsorship, and then you've got to look after them as well. So
yeah, I think, it sounds hard, but there's plenty of resources out there to help, like yourself and like what we do. And, we're kind of here to lean on if and when you need us to take that kind of pressure off. But ultimately, I think with sponsorship, it's so much easier to keep a sponsor happy than it is to find a new one.
Correct.
And it's such a cutthroat industry. Like I said, everyone's out to get your sponsor. As soon as you put them on the side of your car, everyone's making a note, and we'll hit them up at the end of the year because that's when renewal time is. But it's not hard to look after them. You just need to make sure you're over delivering on what you said you would, and building good relationships within their business as well. So
yes, because at the end of the day, as I keep saying, this is a business.
Yeah, exactly. You need to treat unless you've got millions of dollars in the bank and can fund your way through to a paid drive somewhere. Half the field in supercars are still paying for their drive. So you need to put your business hat on early, and in terms of educating sponsors as well. Like, we're happy to come out if you've got a sponsor group that you feel isn't as active, as we like to call it, as they should be in terms of leveraging their investment. And we're happy to come out and do workshops as well to I guess educate them on how they can better use their investment too.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just about an education process for both parties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go back, I put a question up on our Facebook pages if anyone had some specific questions for you. So I just have 2 here. Yeah. Jordan would like to know, how would you start your initial contact with a company business that leaves a good impression on your team yourself? So I always try and tell the guys to do something unique.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to stand out. I think, like I said, doing your research before you call them is a really great start. So understanding, what's been happening with that business, have they been in the news for anything recently? Is there anything that you can, pump their tires up about in terms of them doing a great job is a great way to start. And then, if you do get that foot in the door, think about, what's that leave behind that you're going to, you have a good chat with them, but what's that leave behind on their desk that you can give them? You guys top of mind over everyone else. So I know just, outside of the motorsport space, we recently went through a rebrand ourselves, and I went to market to get some creative agency help on logos and stuff like that. And the agency that we ended up going with was one that I had a meeting with them, and they gave me a chocolate bar at the end of it, and they said just open it up, and have a look at the wrapper before you eat it. I'm like, okay, cool, that's random, but okay, I'll do that. So I got back to the office and had my coffee in the afternoon and opened it up, and here's a little note on the inside of the wrapper that said, let's make this happen, we can do great things together, whatever. Like, it was just a really nice personalised touch that kind of kept them top of mind. So, little things like that to think of as well. It's cool. But yeah, being different, being educated and being aware, I think are the big points, because, you need to realise that whoever you're trying to talk to, there's probably another 100 people trying to talk to them as well about sponsorship. So, how are you going to stand it out?
Yeah, maybe they could invest their time, as opposed to having, this is where your sticker would look great on my car, to a mock-up of an activation they could possibly do together.
Absolutely. And that's going to get you, so far in front of everyone else pitching to them. If you can in your presentation, make sure that it's tailored to them and not just a generic proposal that you've just cut and pasted and put a logo on. I'd also recommend not even putting their logo on your presentation, because it could be an old logo or whatever. It might not be done to their style guide or whatever. So I kind of steer away from doing that as well. Yeah, absolutely paint that picture of how they could activate both at the track and, away from the track as well. Like, what are you willing to do with your time to close this sponsor? Like, what's the value of the sponsor to you? Can you do some stuff midweek? Can you go to their offices and do some things? Do they have a warehouse where it'd be cool to take a race car? Just think outside the box.
Yeah, and not just for the race weekends.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll be happy to know, Beck, that as a guest, I do send out chocolates. So you can have another coffee and enjoy.
Perfect.
And the last question Erin has asked, is there a right way to sell your brand? Is there a particular phase or statement that businesses are looking for when deciding where to invest their money?
No, I think Erin's looking for like the silver bullet to sponsor. Unfortunately not, otherwise it would be really easy. But I think, making the proposal all about them and not all about you is a great way to get that foot in the door and start the conversation. So, don't start the first, 3 pages of your proposal telling them how good you are. You need to start the proposal telling them how you as an asset can help their business. So
I agree 100%. And so in our proposals, the templates that we provide, half of them all of them don't have anything about really the driver apart from 1 or 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be all about them and just your understanding of them. So unfortunately there's no silver bullet, otherwise this whole sponsorship thing would be super easy. If you find a quote that works, Erin, let me know, because I'd like to hear it.
Me too. Well, Beck, thank you so much for your time. It was a valuable bomb of information there. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Before I let you go, I always end up, what is your favourite motorsport track in the world?
Because I haven't seen too many outside of Australia, unfortunately, but so I'm going to have to say Bathurst, which is a bit tokenary for Australia. I guess, what's another one that I like? Some of the F1 tracks are pretty cool as well. The one in Azerbaijan I actually like, just from a scenery perspective. Yep. But Bathurst from just an atmosphere and track elevations. We used to take, I used to do a bit of cycling before I became a mum, and we used to ride around the track every morning at Bathurst week, and I can tell you that is one crazy steep racetrack on a push bike. So
you're crazy, Beck, crazy.
Yeah, good fun coming down, not so fun coming up, but it's just a crazy event. And I if anyone's getting into motorsport and hasn't been there or want to understand the value of sponsorship activation, then I definitely recommend you go along and check that event out. That one in Adelaide are probably the best events for, seeing how the sponsors do it. So
yeah, I'm heading to Adelaide for the first time next year, so I'm really looking forward to that.
It's amazing. I love I head over in January for the cycling and then go back there in March for Clipsal. So, another great event on the calendar, and they have, heaps of stuff going on all weekend. So that's cool.
Fantastic, Beck. Well, thanks again for your time. And we might have you on again later next year to see what's happening. As you said, that world of AR and VR is forever evolving. So it'll be interesting to see what type of activation's happening in about a year's time.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what's going to be going on in a year's time. But it's all exciting stuff. But thank you very much for having me. And if anyone has any questions or want to reach out, just let me know that you've heard the podcast, and happy to help out.
Fantastic. Thanks, Beck.
No worries. See you later.
Well, thanks everyone for listening to this week's show. I really hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. Now, remember, all the show notes with the links and the specials mentioned in today's show are available over at motivatetraining.com.au. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could head to iTunes or Stitcher, type in Motorsport Coaching, subscribe, and leave us a review. Each week, I'll read them out, and you'll go into monthly draw to win a fantastic prize. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at motivatetraining.com.au or head over to our Facebook page at motivatetT. Until next time, take care.
Get ready for the race.
Do you feel one step closer to being the next superstar behind the wheel? Motivatetraining.com.au for more. MOTIV, 8, training.com.au.
The green flag.
Every episode gets you one step closer to the checkered flag. The Motorsport Coaching Podcast, getting you to the checkered flag faster.